This is called the Aztec death whistle. They're not 100% sure what it's for, if it was for burial rituals or if they carried these into war blowing them, because if I heard hundreds of these being blown coming at me and they were my enemy, I'd probably be terrified. I'd probably back down. When you blow on this, it sounds like a woman screaming bloody murder. It'll make your hair stand on end. Don't get mad at me for touching you. This is Clarabelle. She, I believe, has a spirit attached to her by the name of Clarabelle Smith. And we were able to trace Clarabelle Smith to a woman who lived in Canada and eventually married and moved to Michigan. This was found in the old Storm and Norman's on Alexis. A friend of mine who was living with me kept having dreams about her. So we went up there and found her. Exactly what she dreamed. This is one of the ones where the eyes open when you tilt it up. Well, when we picked it up at the antique store and I held it, and I was like, well, they're supposed to open. I guess they don't. And right when I said that, they went at the same time. So we took her, brought her home. Her face has changed over time. I'm not talking about like the crack or nothing. Like, it actually looks fatter now than it did when we first got it. She does not like to be touched or have her clothes move around, so I don't really bring her out very often. She's actually protected me from the one time I did think something followed me home. I'm not sure if it did. Strange things were happening, and I went and sat in the room with her, and she fell off the wall. And whatever happened went out this door. We heard the door like it slammed, even though it never opened. So it sounded like something went through my door. Like it got the heck out of here when she fell off the wall. I'm a paranormal investigator. I've been investigating different locations, private residences, businesses, and such for over 20 years now. But it's pretty much been a part of my life my whole life. Oftentimes it's attracted to me more than I am to it. It seems to follow me wherever I go. I wouldn't be doing this stuff right now if it wasn't for growing up on LaGrange Street. That was my very first encounter with anything strange or paranormal. I was about 2 to 3 years old, used to wake up every night, grab my blanket and pillow, and go sleep on my mom and dad's floor. Until one night, I reached for my blanket and pillow and I looked up into my window. Now we're on the second floor of a duplex, and I see this creature in the window. And it was 2 panes, bottom and top. It was sitting only in the top frame, and it was almost like from the waist up. It had no legs. It looked like reverse television static. It was all black, but it had these gray specks that would appear out throughout its body, and it moved very fluid-like. It had a hole for a mouth and a hole for eyes. I could see through it. I could see the neighbor's roof. I don't recall it making a sound, but as I was thinking about this recently, I started vaguely remembering kind of groaning, guttural sounds. But it feels like a very faint memory. I was frozen in place. I couldn't scream. I was locked on it. I could not move. I wanted to scream so bad. I remember how badly I wanted to scream, but nothing would come out. I couldn't move. And that was the last thing I remembered. I woke up under my bed, completely flat, arms at my side, just staring at the bottom of my mattress. Ever since that happened on LaGrange, that is the only building left standing on that side of the block. Everything else has been torn down since then. There was a catering service there, and there was a funeral home right next to the catering service. In the LaGrange Street area, lots of people have stories from that area. Lots. If I talk to someone who grew up there, almost everyone has some sort of paranormal story. So I believe that area is a hotspot for paranormal activity, and I know from experience. My grandfather had stories, my mom had stories. They never shied me away from it. They embraced the experiences I had, and it was just kind of something our whole family has experienced over the years. My mom, that's her original Ouija board there from the 70s. And I've just been collecting them ever since. This isn't even half of them. I can't display all of them, I have too many. but I do collect Ouija boards from all different eras, styles. In fact, this one here was made for me for helping out on a paranormal project. I don't believe in them, as people tend to think they're an evil object. I just believe it's a board with letters. I believe most of the legend and lore behind them stems from Hollywood. These things weren't considered evil until The Exorcist premiered. Before that, they were just normal objects used to communicate with the other side. This is a death mask. My father collects like military stuff, and one of his friends that had some artifacts for my dad had this. And my dad didn't want anything to do with it, and when he told me about it, I got in contact with the guy and bought it off of him. He said it hung in some family's house for years on the wall, and he didn't have any information on it either. But this was cast on this woman's face after she passed, because back then we didn't have photography, so they would cast plaster masks of people that they could not identify and show their mask in the funeral windows, in the funeral home window, and if anybody would recognize them, they could come in and claim the body. You can see the lines of cotton where they put the cotton balls in her nose to keep the plaster from going up there. Like every wrinkle of her face, every pore is in that. And this door slams while we're all downstairs setting up equipment, and not just lightly. And we all heard it. We jumped. We're like, what was that? That was with some force. See the shadow right before it, and then slam.
Okay with Jeremiah living here and doing renovations to the place?
We were in Prospect Place Estate in Trinway, Ohio, which is a mansion that was part of the Underground Railroad, and something grabbed me by the ankle and yanked me one time really hard.
What the? Someone pulled my ankle, dude.
Very emotional thing. A lot of us were near tears because it terrified us so bad. 90% of the time, it's boring. You're sitting in a room, talking to the air, hoping something happens, and most of the time, nothing happens. It's quiet. You might hear a little sound here or there, but you can debunk it. It's that rare moment where something major like that happens, where the perfect energy aligns, everything just lines up, and something big happens that we do this for. We sit through all those boring nights just for moments like that. That's what we believe to be the nun that's seen in the balcony. It doesn't look like she walks, it looks like she glides by. That's our favorite place. We consider that the most haunted place in Toledo, the most haunted public space. There were a lot of cases where the families ended up moving with the things we found. I can think of one on Manhattan. We heard disembodied voices as we walked through, especially one right in front of my face in the backyard in a field with nothing around. I hear a man go, "What you doing here, boy?" The woman told me there was a demon attached to it that was from the lower keys of Solomon. And it was actually, we looked into it, it was a demon that wasn't exactly evil. It wanted back into heaven and was trying to do good things to get back into heaven, but sometimes had to do bad things because of what it was ordered to do, and it's hell's army. So we took the symbol from the Keys of Solomon and sealed it within that paper, as my friend did a ritual to bind it to this box, if it is that. It hasn't done anything since it's been here. I'll show you the signature on it, but I do not touch it with my bare hands, just in case. So, this is the box. These are coffin nails that were cut in half and put here. You can see the wax from when it was on display. This is wax from one of the other ones that was above it. And on the back, it's signed by the artist. And this is how I was able to trace down its origins. It was from 1984 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Ironically, I was also born in 1984, and she said this thing had been seeking me out personally. There was no mention of anything demonic or anything like that. It wasn't until it was in the mail on its way to me that she started talking about it being demonic, and that This stone that is on top of it has to stay with it at all times. I cannot separate it from it because bad things will happen. She also told me where she got the stone. She said this creature came to her. It was completely black and shiny. It had no facial features. It in a case with lots of protection. There's a little shelf under it, and under that shelf, that is all sage. And next to that are a couple blocks of Palo Santo wood, and on top we have 3 crosses and a St. Michael's pendant. I do feel that every person is sensitive to it in some way, especially as a child. We're very close to the other side after we're born, so I believe that they still have that connection. That's why so many children have imaginary friends that we can't see, but they have full conversations and play dates with. They're still able to see people from that side. I'm sure whoever lives there now is definitely experiencing things. How we promoted ourselves was understanding reached with helping hands. We like to go to people's houses, especially if children were involved, because it's more terrifying when children are involved, especially since these things tend to like to target the children more because they're more vulnerable and closer to being able to see that stuff. So we did a lot of residentials and helped a lot of families out. We did house blessings, we did sagings, and there were a lot of cases where the families ended up moving with the things we found.